Hello, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is about developing film as a beginner. I've only done this 3 times myself, the third being the one that I just filmed for this video, so I might make some mistakes. That being said, I'm in no way an expert on the matter, and if you spot something or if you just have any tips that you'd like to share, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to hear them. But there is actually something curious that went on with this roll. This is our end product, by the way. There's a single shot here that seems to have a giant spot. That might be an exposure thing. I just changed lenses when I did. Could be a developer thing, I'm not sure. If you do know, please reach out. I used Ilfords video to learn how to do this, and I'm gonna have that linked below in the description. On YouTube, I probably won't have it on IGTV if that's where you're watching. But without any more of this intro, we're just gonna jump right in. I should probably mention that today we're developing Ilford HP5+. So we're just going to go over everything that you'll need for the process. Some household items that you'll require is a pair of scissors and a thermometer. The thermometer will be used to check temperature of water, mostly, nothing else, so it doesn't need to be fancy. We're going to need a graduated cylinder to take some volume measurements for our 3 chemicals which we'll be using, which are your developer, in this case ilfosol 3 is what I'm using, your stop bath, I'm using ilfostop, and your fixer, I'm using Ilfords rapid fixer. I just use these basic plastic cups to store the chemicals while I'm developing, and the graduated cylinder, but you're welcome to use bottles or anything else. You can store fixer once you're done with it. I don't, because I don't have bottles for it, but you definitely can. I also use a squeegee to dry film, but you don't necessarily need one. And something to stir. I use this because I got it when I got my development stuff, I guess, yeah. And this is the most important bit, I guess, because you're going to need a tank. So I use a Patterson Super System 4 universal tank with a 35mm reel, which is one of these. Usually these things will come with multiple reels. It could be 2 of these, or 1 for this and 1 for 120 format. It's up to you to whatever reel you need. But that's mostly it, aside from your scissors and thermometer. Yeah. Oh, and clips. You're going to need some clips. I use film clips from Patterson, but you can use any sort of washing clip if you want, because it's just easier to dry the film if you're hanging it from somewhere. So to start, I'm just going to show you something that I do before I even get the film out of the camera. It's something that you can only do with manual rewinding cameras. So because I don't own the film cap removal tool that you use to get the film back out if you've got it all the way inside the can, I just sort of wait till we're really close to the end, and then I wait to hear the film just come off the hooks. Okay, so it's come off the hooks now, and I'm just gonna wind it a little bit, and then this way I can ensure that it's not gone all the way inside the canister, and I'll just pull that out. So when I do that, I have a little bit of the film to hold on to, so I don't have to use a separate tool to open this to get the film out. But that's just a simple thing that I do to make sure that I don't make it harder for myself to get this out to spool onto the roll. Okay, so we're going to start with mixing the developer. I'm using ilfosol 3, and if you look inside on the datasheet for the thing that you're using, for ilfosol 3, it wants me to use it in a concentrate of 1:9, so 1 part this and then 9 parts water. So in this case I'm mixing 300 milliliters, so I'm going to need 30 milliliters of this, and then I'll fill the rest up to 300 milliliters with water. So I have a graduated cylinder here, and I'm going to use that to measure roughly 30 milliliters of the ilfosol first. So yeah, that should be about enough. It's just above the 25 mark there. I don't know if this will actually focus. Oh, I think it will. Yeah, that's good enough. Put that back. So I'm using water from the tap, and it usually I like to it says on the box to use a range of 20 to 24 degrees. I just take it from the tap and then use a meat thermometer to check it. And it usually comes around to like 22-ish, which is good enough. I'm just gonna pour the rest of this up to 300 milliliters. Okay, so once we have 300 milliliters in the graduate cylinder, I'm just gonna take this stir and stir. This stir came with the stuff that I bought from my local store, but you can just use anything, I'm sure. I don't think it really matters, but you know, it's nice to have. Anyway, so once that's stirred, I don't really have containers, and since we're just going to use them right away, I just like to throw them in these little cups. So I'm going to put the developer in this cup. And then we're going to move on to the stop bath next. Alright, put that aside. Okay, I'm gonna wash this in between. So for our stop bath, it's a 1:19 ratio, so we're gonna put in 15 milliliters of this and then fill the rest of this with water. And yeah, so I'm just gonna pour. A little bit under the 25 mark. The stop bath's always the easiest one to tell because it's such a bright color. And the water that I have here now is at roughly about a 21.7, near around the 22 mark that the other one was at. And that's kind of what you're aiming for, like relatively similar. I'm going to dilute this also again to the same 300. That's in. We're going to wash our stir and then give it another little stir. And that's our stop bath ready. And I'm going to put that one in the translucent one so that I can always tell which one it is. Because the order we put these chemicals in to the development process is important. Okay, now we're going to do the fixer. I use Ilford Rapid Fixer, and it's also got it has two concentrations you can use. I'm going to be using a 1:4 ratio, so I'm going to need, what is it, like 60 milliliters of this, and then the rest of it will be water. So I'm just going to pour around a little above the 50 mark on this because it's not super accurate, but close enough tends to work. Also with the water, it says to use a range between 20 and 24, and to make sure that everything's like within a degree of each other. This water is again at 21, that was 22, that's 21 point something. It's close enough where it doesn't really matter. I think as long as you're in the 20-24 range, you're not going to have any trouble. So dilute. Now that this is all mixed. So I like to leave the fixer in this because I don't actually have a third cup. I could easily get one, I just really don't bother because this exists. So in order, we're going to use the developer first, then the stop, and then the fixer. So because this next part needs to take place completely in the dark, the loading of the film, I can't really show that to you, but what I can show you is a little trick that I use to sort of make it a little bit easier. Because you have to load this into the spool, and you just basically, like, once you get the film through these little heads here, there are some spikes. I don't know if you can see if it'll focus. I'm gonna try it. Okay, so there are these two little spikes, and you just sort of push it through, and then you turn this like this to get the film in. But the first time I did this completely in darkness because that's where you're supposed to do it, or in a bag if you have one. But I couldn't, it took me the longest time to get the film in just to start, because once you start it's really easy, So you have to pull a little bit of it out to start anyway. So I figured, why not just load this part in the daylight, because it's going to be like you've lost this anyway, and this is a part of the film that you're not going to actually be shooting. So I'm just going to take out about like a little bit just to see however much we need to get it in. So once that little bit of it is in, I'm going to go and load the rest of this in the dark room and put it in the tank, and then we'll come back and we'll see. So now I've loaded this, and a couple things to note is firstly, if you don't have a changing bag, you should do this in a room without windows, preferably somewhere completely dark. If you don't have one of those, wait till it's nighttime. Maybe put some like towels in the door, under the door, so light doesn't leak in. It doesn't really matter if there's like a really small amount of light leaking in through the door, but like in general, you want complete darkness. One thing I didn't actually do this time is you're supposed to cut off the film leader, the little bit that has been cut out for you to load the film in, to make it easier to load, but it's okay, I made it through this fine, I guess. And you're going to need scissors to cut the film out at the end when it reaches the end of the roll. But it's all loaded in now, and we're just going to, I guess, go right into developing. Oh god, I have to bend down so low to get this shot. Anyway, so we're going to actually do the developing now. I have everything listed on my phone so that I can just quickly review it. But in this case, we're working with ISO 400 film. And for this particular developer, it takes 6.5 minutes, roughly, to develop ISO 400 film. It'll change for the film you're using, especially just with the speed and your developer. So take a look to see which one you're specifically using in terms of developer and how long it takes for specific ISO films. Yeah, so I'm just going to run you through what's going to happen first. It's going to be pretty quick, so it's going to be a lot of work, and I'm going to be using my phone to time things. It's not going to be exact because I don't really ever get it to be 100% exact on the times, but it's going to be pretty close. So we're going to pour the developer in, and we're going to do this agitation, which is just going to be flipping and then flipping back for 10 seconds, and then we're going to tap it against the surface. And we're going to do this for 10 seconds at the start of every minute that we develop it for. So then we're going to wait just 15 seconds before it's done developing. We're going to drain the tank. We're going to pour the stop bath in and then agitate for 10 seconds. Drain again. Pour in the fixer, agitate for 10 seconds, and repeat that at the start of every minute for about 5 minutes. And then we're just going to fill with water, agitate 5 times, drain, fill, agitate 10 times, drain, fill. You can use something like, what's it called? I can't remember a wetting agent. You can use a wetting agent, but you don't have to. I don't have one, so I don't use one. It's probably best for you to lay your chemicals out in an order that makes sense. So I have my developer first, then my stop bath, and then my fixer. So I'm just going to do that. So I start the timer once I've actually poured the developer in. So we're going to pour. Seal it, make sure it's sealed. Then I'm just going to agitate this for about 10 seconds. I was about 7 seconds in already, so I'm just going to, okay. Tap it to release all bubbles, and we're just going to wait. I'll wait here till the next minute. Now we're just going to pour our fixer, which goes in. so 5 minutes. We're gonna fix this. Agitate again. This first 10 seconds of every minute. So now we're just going to fill it with water and do some agitations just to wash it. So I'm just going to drain it again. Fill it with water again. Oh, that was a bit much. 10 this time. I'm going to do it one more time. So, just going to take it out. Going to now take the film off the roll. Because I didn't do this earlier, I'm just going to clip the top so we don't have the leader. Then we're just going to hang this film now. So to hang it, you just get your two clips out. One of these clips will be weighted, so that goes on the bottom. And then one that isn't weighted, that can go on the top. So I'm just going to position the clip and get sure it's secured. I'm going to do the same at the top. And what I do is I just put them on the shower. Just put it over there. Just have that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to squeegee it. And yeah, we're just going to leave it to dry for a little bit. For innovation, I've used my TV as a light box. Anyway, once you've developed and dried your film, you can choose to leave it cut or uncut. I like to cut mine and use a print file to view them. I think that they're better stored like this. It makes it slightly easier to also go through and flatten them later because it makes it easier to scan. But yeah, so I use one that lets me store them in strips of 6, but it's dependent on what size you have, really. I hope you enjoyed that video. I really enjoyed making it. It did run a little bit long, but it is a long process, and I hope to get better at it over time. There's lots of videos online if you want to look at for quicker processes. I just thought I'd show you my process as a beginner. That being said, I do want to move on to try to get more types of developer and try them out, and then even try color processing. As for the pictures from this roll, I haven't scanned them yet, but also this video ran longer than I wanted it to, so I didn't want to add more to it to make it even longer. So I'll have a new walkabout episode out soon with clips and the pictures from this roll. But I do have some big plans for the one after that, because we're going to be using this camera over here. This is a Sprocket Rocket. It is a film panoramic camera, so it takes 2 shots next to each other at the same time, so it just creates one really long image. It's really cool, and I've only used it maybe 2 or 3 times since I've had this, which is kind of unfortunate, but now that I have my own way of developing it, I think I'll be using it more. and I'm going to be shooting the next Walkabout episode after. Well, I guess the next one is going to be the pictures from this roll that you've just seen me develop, but the one after that will be on this. Cool. I'll catch you in the next one.